Hello and welcome to episode 40 of TeachTechPlay. I'm Eleni Kyritsis and I'm the host and founder of TeachTechPlay. Today we've got a fantastic show with some amazing educators from all of them actually from Australia, and we're excited to see what they have to share and what they've been doing in their classrooms. Before I throw over to them, I'm just going to remind everyone to make sure that you vote for your favourite presenter. So make sure that you go to our website, TeachTechPlay, and you can vote for your favourite presenter. And you can also check out all our previous episodes as well as blog posts that are created up there and highlights from the conference and a whole lot of other wonderful information. So before I introduce the wonderful presenters for today, I also want to just congratulate Jackie Child for last month. She was our play queen and she presented linking literature with technologies, and it was quite amazing to see what she was doing. And you can read more about this on the TeachTechPlay blog. She's written a blog post for us up there as well. So without further ado, I might introduce our presenters. So Dan, do you want to say a hello and introduce and tell us where you're from and what you do?
Hi everyone, my name is Danny Summerell. I'm a STEAM teacher and innovations leader in the junior school at Hazel Glen College in northern Melbourne. So I'm sort of behind helping teachers develop their confidence in using digital technologies in the classroom.
Perfect, thank you. We're really excited to have you on today's show.
Thanks.
Next I'll have Maz. Do you want to say hello and tell us where you're from and what you do?
Hi everyone, I'm Marion Ellery, or most people know me as Maz, and I'm a Year 2 teacher at Open College. I don't have a tech role as such, but I'm known as iMaz because I'm, good with tech. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. Glad to have you here. Next we have Joel.
Hi everyone, my name's Joel Ahrens. I'm a media arts specialist teacher at Bentley West Primary School, and in fact, as far as I know, I'm the only full-time teacher who teaches media arts for prep to 6, or foundation to 6. So it's a lot of making stuff up on my own, but it's the best job you could ever have. So yeah, really excited to be here. Thanks.
Perfect, thanks Joel, and I know you're doing some amazing things, particularly with Adobe, so I can't wait, and I'm glad to have you on the show today. And last but not least, Andrew, do you want to say hello?
Hi, Eleni. Hi, everyone. I'm Andrew McKie. I'm very fortunate to teach in a maker-themed year 5 at the Geelong College. 3 teachers, 60 kids, and we got a lot of spare time in the timetable to teach making, coding, and electronics, which I'll be talking about today. It's a great place to work.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrew. And I know I've had the pleasure of coming down and seeing you guys at work, and it is amazing to see how everything is set up down there. And we've had, I think you're the 3rd teacher we've had on TeachTechPlay present something. So it's amazing to see all the wonderful things that you guys are doing down there. So we have got a wonderful show today. So without further ado, first up we have Dan, and Dan will be sharing with us how he is using Seesaw activities for assessment. So Dan, let me know when you're ready and share your screen, and I will start the timer.
All right, all good to go.
Perfect.
So first of all, if you don't know what Seesaw is, it's basically an online portfolio tool that students can use. Good way to keep in touch with parents about what's happening in the classroom. And for me, I love it just because it's very student-centered. I wanted to show everyone a little bit about activities, which is something teachers can set up to help learning. And I'm just going to show an example of how I've been using it for assessment in STEAM this year so far. So the example I'm going to use is from a Year 2 setting. Their activity this year has been to create a arcade style machine in the same style as Kane's Arcade, but with the added element of incorporating their iPad. So that once they've built their arcade machine, they can play their iPad game that they've previously coded this year using hopscotch. So I'm just going to go through the process and just talk about it. This is what the journal screen looks like here, and we want to set up an activity, which we just press the green plus button, and we want to share an activity. You've got an option here to see what's already in the Seesaw library, what's in a school library, or anything that you've created. Now, I've already pre-created something, and I've already shared it to my school library, so we're going to look at that. And we've got the task here, which is part of our key assessment task for their design process for planning their arcade. So we want to go into view that. And you'll see here we've got a heading, we've got the instructions for the students, we've got step-by-step explicit instructions along with little icons as well for the kids, which actually, so that you can type them in, there's a document here, I can tweet that out later on. And I've also voice recorded the instructions here as well. So for those kids that, struggle with literacy a little bit, that just makes the task a little bit easier for them, easier to follow along. Also included a template in here that I want the students to be able to edit. So once I've got that, I'm going to customize it. You can attach examples if you want to. For this one, I didn't want to because I don't want kids copying my work, which tends to happen a lot, and most teachers would know that. You can choose whether you want to share the activity with all the students in your class or just a couple. This one, that would be for all the students. And down the bottom, you've got these really good options here. So if you've got a task and you want to share it with students, but you don't have them till third session on a Wednesday, you can make sure it only shares at that specific time. That stops those very studious students jumping in and doing all the work before you've actually talked about it. You can have work automatically saved to a folder. So I've got here a few folders set up, and I would want that set up in my Steam folder because that's what I'm teaching. That helps me keep a track of what students are doing. And one of the new things that I'm really excited about using this year is skills.
1 minute.
So we've got skills view here. I've already set up a skill here, which I can see what each star would represent. And I want to assign that to my task. And then I can publish it to the school library if I want. So I've already set this up. So I'm just going to quickly cancel this and show you what a finished one looks like so we can see it. Here you've got the activity. If I press on here, you can see everything that the student's done. It sort of gives you a preview. So here's some examples here. When I'm marking it, I can add my skill to it. So I think they've done 3-star work. Excellent. I want to tick that. And once I've finished going through all the students' work, I can go to my skills view and see my class at a glance. So I've got a 3-star job there, 1 star, and one that I haven't marked yet. So imagine that with lots of different skills view. And it's just a tool that we've found really useful for keeping track of assessment in the classroom. It's all there for us. The kids are running the learning, and it's very simple to use. Valuable tool.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dan. And it's actually kind of funny. We've had no one ever share Seesaw on TeachTechPlay. I think maybe once someone mentioned it, like you can just share it to Seesaw and then the parents can interact. So that's my first time I've actually seen it and good. How it works. So it's really interesting.
And that was a real rushed example. So.
Yeah, all good. I think people get the idea and they can always reach out to you if they want to know some more about it. But the way that I've seen Seesaw being used in the primary classroom is amazing, especially for that communication between home and school and that continuous reporting. So really cool what you guys are doing, and it looks like it is really easy for teachers to use and it's not too difficult. Did anyone else have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I did. With your skill set, because I'm a Seesaw ambassador, so I know a little bit more maybe than you, Eleni. But did you set that up for your teachers to access, Dan?
For the one that I just demonstrated there, we set that up ourselves for our classroom. There were some already set up from last year, which no one's really used. So it's basically, if you want a skill uploaded, you can upload it. So I think what's in our skill library at the moment is just links to the Victorian curriculum.
Okay.
But you can put whatever you want in there. For us, we just wanted to show what 1, 2, and 3 stars looks like so that it's quite easy. It's related directly to the assessment rubric. So, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Next up, we actually have you, Maz. So let me know when you are ready and you can start sharing your screen. And you're going to be sharing Puppet Pals and how you've been using it in the classroom.
Yeah. So you can start the timer. Yeah.
Just wait. Yep, we can see your screen now. Perfect. Off you go.
All right, so I'm going to be sharing about Puppet Powers HD with the Director's Pass. A little bit about me. My Twitter handle is Love to Teach and Travel. But last year I had a lot of students that were a little bit reluctant to write. I generally found that they had sort of good oral language skills. They were creative. They could, really use technology really easily. But when it came to writing, I discovered that they generally had a bit of a low self-esteem. Sorry. And so then I discovered needed to do some investigating to find Puppet Pals. I thought I was always using the free version, but just recently I realised that I was using the Director's Pass, which costs $6 to use. So I'll be talking about that today. Now, it's an app that is really easy to use. When you have the Director's Pass, you can add as many characters as you want, and you just click more characters, and then students can choose from a range of characters that are set up, and so you actually have access to all current and future characters, which is really cool, and they come with their own set of backgrounds as well. Now, it's really easy for students to just add in. They can choose whatever characters that they want, or they can also add their own characters that they've designed or that you've provided for them from their camera roll. This is just a quick little video to show how easy it is to add your own character, that the students will just draw around whatever character that they want and insert it as a character. Backgrounds are really easy. You can choose different things from the camera roll, but when you're adding a background, you just have to remind them to not have the black background to make sure that the photo takes up the whole space. You can select up to 5 backgrounds to make their stories really interesting. Now, I like to call this the backstage for the characters. You can see that the characters are not yet inside the rectangle, and as soon as the characters are drawn inside the rectangle, when the record button is pressed, then they're on stage. They just sort of press the red button, and then the characters will start to talk. Sorry, I'm just having a bit of a delay here. Something's gone.
We can still see your screen. I've paused the timer.
So my screen's just...
We're just stuck on the one with the characters around the side. That's what we're seeing.
Yeah. Okay, so here's, if you want to press play again.
Yep.
Here's just a quick video showing you what the video will look like. And then the creating stage for a student as well. So you can see how she will drag characters in and out of the rectangle. But notice here at the end, the character is out of the rectangle, so that's why her head was chopped off in the video. So it's just something important to remind your students of. And it's really easy changing between backgrounds. And this is an example of showing about how
1 minute.
Students aren't restricted.
Then a female frog will lay eggs in a pond. The eggs are called sperm. The male frog will fertilize them.
So that's just a nice example about how sometimes students can really use their oral language to show certain vocabulary that they may not include in their writing. So I've used Puppet Pals for book reviews, for story retells, for explanations, reading, to show fluency and expression, as a writing prompt before, during, or after. You can use it for maths explanations. There's so many things that you can do, and it's for any age. Like our preps are using it next week for narrative writing, so there's no limit as to which students can use it. So yeah, thanks for listening.
Perfect timing. Thank you, Maz, for doing that. And if you just want to stop sharing your screen, perfect. So I think it's amazing to see the way that you're using Puppet Pals. I remember using Puppet Pals a few years ago, and I stopped actually using it. I don't know why. I think I actually have no idea why. But now that you've shown me again, I've been using Explain Everything a lot. But for those storytelling scenarios, it just allows kids that other platform where they can be that director, as you said, and talk and add the
Yeah.
characters as they please. So it's really cool to see. And, you know, sometimes we see all these apps and we forget about them. And it's not until someone says something, oh, have you been using this one? You think, oh my gosh, I forgot about that one. So yeah, thank you for that reminder.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any comments or questions?
Yeah, I wanted to say that that in my media arts class, we've been using Puppet Pals a lot. It's been around for a while, Puppet Pals, and I actually use it with the prep foundation kids, and they sort of do a storytelling unit, and the app is easy even for the for the 5 and 6 year olds. However, my problem is that most of their videos that they make are having characters around the screen going do 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 without actually having an actual story or anything like that. So we do a lot of discussion about storytelling and character, but at the end of the day, they're 5 and 6 year olds and they just want to smash into each other.
Yeah,
but, it's a great app to use.
But if you also think about like them as writers, like, you know, initially they're just like letters on the page and then you teach them. Likewise with their storytelling, like they might be just doing the initially, but then you show them what a story is, you know, and everything to then, see how they develop. And
it's important to know as well that makes sense to them, even if we don't quite understand it. Like it makes sense to them. So
Exactly right. A quick question, Maz. Once they've finished their creation in Puppet Power, does it just save to the camera roll on the iPad?
It saves initially, then export to Puppet Pals HD first, and then they have to export it again to the camera roll. Okay. So it's a little bit fiddly at the end, a little bit, but once that's sort of been modelled, then the students can generally follow.
Perfect. And then obviously from the camera roll, it can be uploaded to.
And I normally put it into Seesaw. So thanks, Dan, for sharing about Seesaw.
No worries.
Perfect. Thank you. Next up, we have Joel, and Joel will be sharing with us drawing when you can't draw using Adobe Sketch. Now, this is something that my kids always laugh at me about, Joel. My wonderful drawings on the board. They go, "What on earth is that, Miss Kay?" And I go, "Can't you see it's a horse?" And they're like, "That is not a horse." So I'm excited to see how I can use Adobe Sketch a bit more in my classroom. So let me know when you're ready and I'll start the timer.
Okay, so let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. Can you see the iPad? Is everyone good?
Yep, perfect now.
Okay, you can start now. All right, so as I said, I'm a media arts teacher and I teach everything from photography to animation, graphic design, 3D modeling, video production, you know, the works basically. A lot of it using Adobe apps and Adobe programs on Creative Cloud, but with other apps as well. So it's basically the whole gamut, and obviously level lessons for different age groups. If you told me 2 years ago before I started that one of my favorite lessons would be on illustration, I'd say you were mad, because the open secret at our school is I'm the art teacher who can't draw. And even my stick figures are notoriously bad. And that's when I discovered an app like Adobe Sketch. And I'm just going to new drawing to show you, because as I can't draw, I'm not going to teach drawing technique. I would never do that. What I do is that I teach drawing through tracing. And a lot of people, that's controversial to some people, but for me, it's not cheating. It's the same as looking up a recipe and cooking through a recipe. So it's important to understand what tracing can do and how it can help you with your drawing, even people who are quite confident in drawing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a picture that I've prepared and get it to the right size. Yep, like that. So this is a background picture, and that goes on an image layer. And then we can put that image layer underneath the sketch layer. I'll make the image layer a little bit more opaque so I can see what I'm drawing, and then start on my sketch layer ready to go. Now, drawing with an iPad has a lot of advantages than drawing on a piece of paper. For example, on a piece of paper, you can't do this. You can't zoom in unless you bring the iPad really close to your face, which is silly. And especially for someone who's a bit of a non-drawer like me, if you do a mistake, then it's very easy just to press the undo button. And I know we all wish there was an undo button on pieces of paper when we're writing things or drawing things, but unfortunately there's not. But on a computer, or on an iPad, it is very, very useful. So we can sort of, I'm not going to do the whole picture, but I'm sort of giving you the idea. And, you know, I'm using an Apple Pencil right now, so I've got the pressure points that help out with that as well. But what really excites me is the different things that you can do with this. I use the layering a lot. So when I start doing the color, I'll put the color layer on, I'll do another layer and I'll put it underneath and say use one of these coloring pens, so that when I'm coloring, it goes underneath the drawing that I've done. And if I need to make a mistake, or if I've made a mistake or I need to fix something up, I can just clean it up, and that doesn't take off the drawing because that's on a separate layer. And so I often have a different layer for, say, the hair, different layer for the skin and the body and the arms and things like that. So they sort of all go underneath each other, and it makes it a lot easier to do. I've only done a little bit here, but you can understand the process. The important thing is that this really has given a lot of confidence to a lot of the kids who haven't really connected in visual arts before, because they just didn't have the skill and they didn't have the confidence. And I know how that is because I'm one of them. So when I start this, I confess to the class that I am a terrible drawer, and those people who say that everyone can draw, it's just a matter of how much, well then that's not true to the people who can't draw, because we know that we've got no talent. So I put up my hand and I encourage all the other kids that are like me to put up their hands and say, right, you're my people and you're the ones that I'm going to be really watching today, because if I can get you engaged with drawing through tracing on the iPad, then that's just great. And I certainly have learned a lot about drawing through doing this. So this is Adobe Sketch. Okay, time's up. So this is Adobe Sketch. There's also Adobe Draw that does something very similar. And if you want to know more about it, my here at mediaartsconfessions.wordpress.com. There's a book there as well. It's got lots of lessons that you can deliver to kids, not just for primary school kids, but they're quite applicable for secondary school kids as well. So thanks a lot.
Perfect. Thank you, Joel, for sharing that. And it's amazing to see how, you know, we can use the Adobe tools in so many different ways. You know, we had Tim Kitchen on last month, and he shared with us how we can access online all that free PD through the portal. And yeah, it's great to see the amount of different tools there are out there, because, you know, it never surprises me whenever I hear from you and Tim the amount of different Adobe tools that I've never even heard of. I know the main one I use is Adobe Spark, but, you know, there's so many things that you can do. And a lot of schools actually don't realize they have access to many of these products as well. So thank you for sharing it.
Yeah, and also all the Adobe mobile apps are completely free. You don't need to pay a cent for them. And some of them are very, very powerful and you're just scratching the surface. And the Creative Cloud, like you said, almost all government schools at least have that on their license, so no excuse.
Yeah. Perfect. Did anyone else have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I had a quick question just about the Apple Pencil. So how do you, obviously most kids wouldn't have one of those, so how do they find drawing or tracing with just their finger or with like a standard stylus?
Yeah, so for the kids, we do use the standard stylus. And I have learnt, because they tend to be quite cheap, that drawing with them can break very easily, and we have to start getting a lot of them. Some kids prefer just to use their fingers. But what I tell them to do, though, is that when they're doing it, just use the stylus with their fingers like this, with just the lines. But if they're doing any colouring in or any rubbing out and doing this sort of thing, then use your fingers. And that seems to work quite well. So some kids prefer just using their fingers for everything, and some kids like to use the stylus.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? No? Alrighty, I'm up next, and of course once I go to share pull up my screen, I'd realized I'd closed it. So I've pulled it up now and I'm ready to go. I'll just share my screen and start the timer. Today I'll be sharing Google's 360-degree tour builder. So give me 1 second. This one. Alrighty, can you guys all see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. So I'm just going to share with you this new product that Google has released called Tour Creator. And if you just search br.google.com/tour creator, I'll ensure that we tweet this out as well. What it allows you to do is to create your own virtual excursions. So many of us know, and I'm pretty sure I've shared before, Google Expeditions on TeachTechPlay, and I've always wished that you could create your own. So now you can actually do that. So if I click to get started, and it will just log me in, hopefully. Let's get moving. The timer is going. But what you can do is you can pretty much create and search anywhere in the world. So with Google, they allow, and of course now it's not going to work. We'll go back. Come on, you can work. Here we go. So once you're in, you simply create new tour. And then once you're in here, you can label it anything you want. So I'm just going to call it TT Play example. And you can add photos as your covers, and you can select categories, but because it's being a bit slow, I'm going to just leave it blank. But then you simply go down the bottom here to add scene. Now, once you click on add scene, you can actually upload your own 360-degree photos, and I'll show you at the end. My school actually has a Ricoh Theta camera, which takes 360-degree photos. But you can also just pull up any photo of Google Maps. So if I search up here, Federation Square, Melbourne, there we go. And it will actually drop me right in here to Federation Square in Melbourne. So this is New Year's Eve, the photo that it's pulled up. I'm just going to add that quickly to my scene so you can see. Then on the side here, you can actually label it. So I'm just going to label it New Year's Eve. But you can also add a point that you want students to focus on. So just like you can in Google Expeditions, you can do that too and add a description so they can actually click and focus there. Then you can add another scene. So I'm going to search now MCG. So I'm just clearly pulling up lots of different Melbourne landmarks. And I don't need to look at this guy or these people, but I want to look at the ground here of the MCG. So I'm going to click add to scene, and then I can actually add again a focus point. So, this was actually a soccer game at the MCG, the one I've pulled up. It's funny, yesterday you can pull up different images that you want and make different focal points, and then you can simply publish it. Now, when you go to publish it, I haven't got a cover photo, but when you go to publish it, what you can actually do is then make it unlisted. So it doesn't have to be a public sort of tour. It can be a private one, and you can share that link with your students and direct them through the 360-degree photos. So you can pretty much put your own expeditions together. You can upload your own photos. And I'll just quickly stop sharing. I think I've got actually time, which is got 30 seconds left. But here I've actually just got a Ricoh Theta camera that my school has. And pretty much when you turn this on, you just hold it up and press the button. I don't know if you can see that that's there. And it just takes a 360-degree photo nice and quickly. And then you can actually save and upload your own photos as well. So my students, we went to Hillsville Sanctuary on Friday for a school excursion. So I couldn't actually pull any of those photos up because you could obviously see all my students' faces, but I'm actually creating now a tour of our excursions. So really good if you have kids who don't attend excursions, you can put them together, but also to reflect and talk about it afterwards as well and have a bit more of a discussion. Because I know with my class on Friday, it was great that we were all there, but I know when we were talking about specific things, some kids were not listening. So on Monday, I can actually go back and we could go through our excursion again and talk about it like real life in those 360-degree photos. So that's me done. That was very quick. And Google Tour Creator has only been released, I think, for a month. So it's quite new and quite amazing what you can do. Did anyone have any questions or comments?
It looks fantastic. I'm thinking about the context in which we would use it. Giving the kids a context for a novel we're reading where you actually can't go to the setting, but you can walk them through it.
Yeah, exactly. So you've just got to search and find those photos, and then you can
Yeah.
just upload them, because there's so many 360-degree photos now that are available through Google Maps. Not only the ones Google have taken, but tourists as well, so that they've uploaded to share. So quite amazing. Yeah, it's going to transform the way we teach, I think, and the things that we can do with our kids as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for sharing that. Like, it just opens my mind as to, where I can take that. So it's amazing.
No
and if you
problem.
think about the possibilities between what you've just showed us and augmented reality as well, like that broadens the horizons even more.
Yeah.
The things that we can do that now and in the future is going to be amazing, I think.
Yeah.
It's quite crazy. And, you know, when we talk about excursions these days, you don't actually have to even leave your school. And I know budgets are always the thing that stop us a lot of the time, that schools just don't have the budget. Or even if you're talking about places overseas, which, you know, being a primary teacher, I don't think I ever want to take primary students on an overseas trip. 1.5 hour bus ride to Hillsville Sanctuary was bad enough. But, you know, but we can take them there virtually. So it's really cool what you can do.
And I'm even thinking like in like Puppet Pals, because you can create your own backgrounds and things. Like you could use an image that, you know, you've gone and seen, and then they can actually put themselves in. And so there's so much, you know, and talk through the, you know, what they saw and everything. So it's, incredible.
Yeah. Alrighty. And lucky last but not least, we have got Andrew. And Andrew, you'll be sharing with us some of the wonderful learning that is happening at Geelong, and you'll be showing entry-level electronics, particularly how to use or I can't even say it now, or Arduinos, yes. I'll get there eventually. So I'll hand over to you. Let me know when you're ready, and I will start the timer.
Yep, I'm all good to go.
Perfect.
Right. We've been using electronics as part of our maker-centered curriculum for a couple of years now. Kids have got used to using things like Mckie and Little Bits. And this year we've expanded a little bit further and started using hummingbirds. But a couple of months back, we became aware that makerspaces.com were producing these Arduino starter kits. And basically you can purchase them in a bundle of 6 kits and you get a magnificent ebook. And Andrew Miller and the people at Makerspaces have obviously spent a lot of time thinking about a user-friendly, developmental way, a sequential way of teaching kids how to use Arduino. So there's a lovely ebook that comes with the bundle that you buy. So I, of course, still using the paper printed version, but basically what I'm able to do with my class is sit them in front of an interactive whiteboard and take them on a tour through Arduino. And the kit contains basically all the things they need, like wires and LEDs and a breadboard and an Arduino. And as we go through the sequence, they also have a downloaded set of code to match the projects. So the children are making these circuits, they are looking at the Arduino code and seeing the relationship. And you start with very simple circuits and you go through to having LED flashing lights. And later on, you can add peripherals that you have to buy, things like speakers and sensors and an LED display. But to see 22 kids absolutely engaged and tinkering away is just fantastic. So we've been going at it for about a term now. We actually bought another half a dozen kits, which means that the children can now work in pairs. And as an entry-level immersion activity and getting kids involved in thinking about electronics and using an Arduino, I must commend Makerspaces and Andrew Miller for what they've done. So my kids start with things like basic simple circuits. They're now working on things where they're using sensors to have traffic lights to work with their Lego robots. I've got kids working on a classroom fan. Some of my children for their projects next term want to work on a drone, which is going to mean we're going to be blowing our budget, but you've got passion, you've got interest, you've got kids using their spare time to push themselves further and learn more about Arduino. So basically, the ebook's written in very, very easy to use language. I was a complete novice. I said to my 2 colleagues, Kelly Watson and James Colbert, I'll take this one on. So we sit there in front of the screen, we go through this developmental set of lessons, we build the circuits, we test things, the kids document their learning. Very, very easy to use, great user-friendly activity for the kids. So I'm really, and The other thing is too, it comes with this beautiful card, which means the grade 5 students don't lose the pieces. Everything goes back in the box. So as part of the bigger picture of what we do with electronics in year 5, we teach them the basics, and then next term they get to go on and do their own projects. So I'd have to say that for our students and for me as an electronics novice, this has been a great start, and it will form the basis for project learning, which will go on in the second half of the year. So we front load the kids with the basics, and they learn how to make the circuits, how to test the circuits. They become very good at troubleshooting and supporting one another. And they're going to take their learning further next term and start upcycling old technology. We're very lucky we've got an ICT and an AV department that give us loads and loads of stuff that the kids can pull apart. James and I actually presented on that at the last conference. And that's a really exciting way to get the kids hands-on. Electronics is not a thing they're afraid of at year 5. Their passion and their interest is very, very infectious. So if you're ever wanting anybody to get stuck into electronics, this is a great way to go. So I wholeheartedly recommend it.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrew. And I know that the things that you guys are doing down there is absolutely amazing. We've had James on, I think maybe even twice now.
Yes.
And even the things that he shares with us that you guys are doing, you're continually raising the bar, I think, for all of us. So, you know, you never just say, yep, that worked perfect, let's do it again. And what I love about you guys is you're always striving for something else, and you're always looking for something else. And as you said, budgets are always an issue, but when there's student passion there, you know, you find ways to make it work, and schools will always find a way to make certain things work if you prove to them that there is a purpose and there is clear learning intentions and clear learning taking place. So it's amazing. And I didn't realize that Maker.com had those kits. Do you know how much it was for the 6 kits?
So the bundle of 6 with the ebook was under $500, about $79 a kit, and everything is there to get started. They've really thought about making it as teacher friendly and as student friendly as they possibly could. They've done a wonderful job with it.
Yeah, and for that price, I think is very affordable for most schools, because sometimes when you start to look at these circuit kits, you know, with little bits, it can get up into the thousands of dollars, where a lot of schools can't afford that, but you still want to provide those experiences for kids. And I know a lot of teachers, me included, a lot of people think I'm like really tech savvy a lot of the time, but for that kind of stuff, once you get into that circuit sort of thing, you know, I'd never learnt any of that at school. So for something as a teacher that, you know, you can go through the tutorials. I know last week I was actually using Sam Labs with my year 6s, and I spent the period before just like playing with it, making sure I had the understand before I actually go in, and they had lesson plans. And I think that's really helpful no matter where you are at the stage of using electronics in the classroom, that you can pick it up, have a go and use it. And, you know, learn alongside the kids is really important as well. Did anyone else have any questions or comments for Andrew?
Well, I wanted to say that I agree with you, Eleni, that you know, when I was at school, I didn't learn electronics, and it's something I've been wanting to get into for a while, just for my own understanding. We don't do a lot of STEM at our school, unfortunately, and it's something I'm trying to break into. So getting one of these kits, even if it's just one of them, and having a play myself, and then showing it to the kids, showing it to the staff, might start something up, which I'm hoping for. But Andrew, I wanted to ask, are these kits a sort of one and done sort of thing, or can they be put back and done for another class?
Yes, basically we rotate our 3 classes through a 3-week course. So I'm now on my 2nd class, and they'll do the series of a dozen lessons over the next couple of weeks. And we found that works absolutely fine as long as they remember to put everything back in the box. Yeah.
I know that was a problem when we bought a big Lego Mindstorm kit. And, you know, once a few of the pieces are gone, then that's a $500 kit gone. You know, it's ridiculous.
When the cleaners come in and you hear that rattling up the pipe, you know the kids haven't cleaned up properly.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, you know, it's good that they even had those little cards in the kit. So then, you know, the kids can tick off themselves. That's the most important thing. And you know, packing up is the main thing, and kids have to learn to be respectful, because if they don't actually start to look after the things that we provide for them, they're not going to be able to do it. And I say that to kids. I said, if you lose the parts, don't come to me saying, I need this part, because if you've lost it, I can't do anything about it. You have to find another way to make it work. So yeah, it is really good. And that actually brings us to the end of today's show. So really big thank you to all of our presenters. I'm just going to share again the voting slides. So make sure that you pop onto the website, teachtechplay.com/web show, and you can see obviously today's episode as well as the voting, and all our previous episodes are up there as well. Make sure you share it with staff, and reach out to us if you are wanting to present on an upcoming episode, or if you want to just be showcased on educators of Teach Tech Play. And if you don't really feel like jumping on board and taking the risk of sharing something for 4 minutes, we've also got our blog, which we're more than happy to cross-post with things that you've already written on your own personal blog, because we just want to provide resources for teachers to help them in the classroom. So on behalf of myself and everyone today, huge thank you, and I look forward to seeing you all for episode 41, which makes me scared a little bit about 41, but that's all right. We keep going, and that will be at the start of July. So make sure you tune in and reach out to all of our presenters if you have any questions, or myself, and I can always put you in contact with someone who can help you related to a specific question. So thanks again, guys, and look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.
Bye.
See you later.